Anyway, with all that said, Matthew 13. Starting with verse 34. So, he finished with the first four parables of the kingdom. And then he delivers a break, Matthew does. All these things Jesus said, because Matthew likes to give commentary and details, because givers do that. They're all about the details and the accounting and the bean counting and all the other stuff. Little accountants like to make sure all the resources are all in one place and we know where they are. So Matthew's giving a detailed explanation here. Matthew 13, verse 34 and 35. All these things Jesus said to the crowd in parables. Indeed, he said nothing to them without a parable. Because as a result of Matthew 12, the entire nation lost their birthright. Because they decided they were going to just say the leaders who represented the nation, because the nation was supposed to be a kingdom of priests, but the Lord shrunk it to the tribe of Levi, and these descendants of the Levites, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, decided they were going to blaspheme the Holy Spirit. So the Lord said, okay, no more birthright for anybody in the nation. Took it out, and he began speaking to the people in parables. So, this was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world. Jesus is speaking in a parable, and a parable is a way of hiding the blunt, plain truth. They weren't willing to receive the blunt, plain truth, so he was willing to provide a veil for people that the Spirit would lead to interpret. He spoke in parables. It's like, you don't want to hear the truth when it's plainly presented for you? Fine. We'll make a delineation between those whom the Spirit is calling and those who he is not calling. Oh, but wait a minute. The Spirit's calling everyone. Because he died for all, and he is willing that none should perish. The problem is people are, with their stubborn, full, bullheaded free will, many of them are going to stop up their ears and not actually hear what's being said. Huh? And they're going to listen with their carnal, soulish brains. And they're not going to listen with the Spirit that they have access to inside of them. We are responsible to hear what he is saying. And if we don't understand it, to seek for the understanding, the knowledge, and the wisdom. So when the Lord comes to us with a parable, he wants us to see, and us to understand whether or not we have the understanding, the grasp. There are a million different things that the Lord wants to communicate in a parable. Sometimes when you ask him a question, what's my season? Look at the trees. What's the season for the tree that he's talking about in Psalm 1? The Lord is going to ask you to answer a question with a question. He's going to say to you, what kind of tree? Are we talking an avocado tree? Are we talking a lemon tree? Are we talking about a lime tree, a Brazil nut tree, a pistachio tree, an almond tree? What kind of tree? An orange tree? A cherry tree? An apple tree? What kind of apple? 80 billion different varieties of apples. 80 billion different varieties of oranges. Are they South African, Floridian, or Californian oranges? Are they Iranian pistachios or Californian pistachios? Great variety. So the Lord might ask you a question in order to answer the question that you put forth to him. So you have to dig and with a little bit of effort. He might say, you say, Lord, what about this? And then he says, well, what do you mean by that? Hang up the phone, and you have the resources that he knows, since he asked you the question, he knows you have the resources that you need to unpack and mine in order to figure out what his answer meant. So, let me give you another example of this. Somebody who didn't think they had the understanding, but they actually did. Acts chapter 10. So, okay. So, at Caesarea there was a man named Cornelius, a centurion who was known as the Italian, of what was known as the Italian cohort. a devout man who feared God with all his household, gave alms generously to the people, and prayed continually to God. About the 9th hour of the day, he saw clearly in a vision an angel of God come in and say to him, Cornelius. And he stared at him in terror and said, What is it, Lord? He was acknowledging the Lord. And he said to him, Your prayers and your alms have ascended as a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa. Now, Joppa is where Jonah went. And bring one Simon, who is called Peter, out of Joppa. Same place Jonah was. Simon Bar-Jonah, blessed are you, for flesh and blood didn't reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I will tell you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. That's Matthew 16. Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. So the Son of Man belly in the earth. Peter had the confession. Peter was considered the son of Jonah in that text. Peter's in Joppa. This is where we find him. When he has the vision. The next day, bring one Simon who is called Peter. Verse 6. He is lodging with one Simon a tanner, whose house is by the sea. When the angel who spoke to him had departed, he called 2 of his servants and a devout soldier from among those who attended him. And having related everything to them, he sent them to Joppa. The next day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up on the housetop about the 6th hour to pray. And he became hungry and wanted something to eat, but while they were preparing it, he fell into a trance and saw the heavens open up, and something like a great sheet descending, being let down by its 4 corners on the earth, wherein were all manners of 4-footed beasts and fowls of the air, and creeping things and wild beasts. And there came a voice to him, saying, Arise, Peter, kill and eat. Peter had the vision, blah, 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 blah. He says, By no means, Lord, I've not eaten a cockroach. I've not eaten a snail or a squid. I'm not eating a pig. Ain't no bacon for me. I'm a Jew. Thank you very much, sir. And the voice said to him a second time, What God made clean, do not call common. This happened 3 times, and things were taken up at once to heaven. Now, while Peter was inwardly perplexed as to what the vision he had seen might mean, that's where I want to stop and focus on. He was not concerned about the kosher nonsense. This is not a passage about God made everything clean. You want that, you go to the Gospel of Mark, chapter 7, verse 19, I think, where it says, In these things, Jesus made all meat clean. Whatever the case. I don't remember the exact wording. But this is talking about, he's perplexed. He said, okay, this is a parable that Jesus gave to him. The vision came and it was parabolic. It had a hidden meaning. He needed to unpack. Sometimes you're going to have something that the Lord wants to unpack. And he's going to present it as a mystery, and he's not going to make it plain or simple. Too much times we're used to this magic wand Christianity where we expect the Lord to wave a magic wand, tell us what everything means, make it simple, stay in love with Jesus. No, we got principles to unpack because we got an airplane to build. Something that has not been invented yet, like the Wright brothers. We need to consider the lilies of the field, the grass, the birds of the air, flight, wind, direction, speed, climate, beaches versus mountains. How does this craft work on the plains of Ohio versus on the beaches of North Carolina?
Where to land.
Where to land, how to land, what we use to land. Do we just glide down safely, or do we use wheels, or do we use a slingshot to shoot the thing off? Which is what they originally had. It was a form of slingshot that they used to slingshot the plane and get it ready. It was rails and a runner. And they had rails underneath, gliders, skids to help land the plane, not wheels.
That must have made a loud noise.
All kinds of things that we have to figure out how to walk with and in. And the Lord's going to give us a vision, and we need to unpack it. That's what the passage in Matthew was about. It was about unpacking something. He's going to give things hidden because people didn't want to hear it blunt, so he told them hidden so that those people who were his kids and had received the revelation by the Holy Spirit knew what was going on. Oh, so that's what he means. And they can unpack it about 3 to 4 different ways, And then they've got a bunch of tools that they can use so they can walk and live their life and build the kingdom. Sometimes he is going to answer your question with the question when you are praying. Your job is to unpack the question when he gives it to you. Or if he gives you a vision or a dream, to unpack what it might mean. So, as we are in the process of understanding when the Lord gives us something that's a parable, a vision, a dream, something that's clearly symbolic, our job is to unpack what those symbols mean by the tools that we have, whether it's our human spirit or the Holy Spirit, God the Father, Jesus, another believer, a tribe, somebody who might have it, a book that we read and we come across the line, oh, that's the reason I got this book, now I can put it up and move along. Pretty much. So, gang, there are times when Jesus is going to speak to you in parables so that you can take the hidden things of God, unpack them, and reveal them. So, be blessed, and we love you very much, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.